In a stunning and unexpected move, the United States Supreme Court has delivered a decisive blow to former President Donald Trump's ambitious Patriot Tariff Act, a policy that had been at the center of heated national debate for months. By halting this cornerstone of his economic platform, the court has not only disrupted Trump's vision for American industry, but also sent a clear message about the limits of presidential power. This ruling isn't just a legal decision, it's a political earthquake, shaking the foundations of Washington and redefining the balance of power between the executive and legislative branches. The shockwaves are being felt far beyond the Capitol, reverberating through global trade networks and diplomatic circles. The decision directly impacts the prices you pay for everyday items, from smartphones and electronics to cars and groceries, making its effects tangible for millions of American families. For American businesses, large and small, this marks a critical turning point, forcing them to rethink supply chains, pricing strategies, and their place in a rapidly changing economy. Globally, both allies and adversaries must now recalibrate their economic strategies, as America's role in the world economy is suddenly in flux. International partners are watching closely, uncertain about the future of trade relations. Financial markets have reacted with volatility, as investors scramble to assess the long-term implications of the court's decision and what it means for global commerce. Political leaders are deeply divided. Supporters of the tariff decry what they see as judicial overreach, while opponents celebrate a crucial check on executive authority. The debate is fierce, and the stakes are high. The Supreme Court hasn't just blocked a policy, it's set a powerful new precedent that legal scholars and policymakers will debate for years to come, shaping the boundaries of presidential power. This decision forces a national conversation about trade, protectionism, and America's economic identity in the 21st century, raising questions about who really benefits from these policies. As we unpack this historic ruling, we'll explore its deep roots in American law, its immediate consequences for the economy, and the uncertain path that lies ahead for policymakers and citizens alike. Let's dive into how we got here, and what this momentous decision means for you, your family, and the future of the nation. To truly grasp the significance of the Supreme Court's recent ruling, we need to step back and explore the long and often turbulent relationship America has had with tariffs. Tariffs have been a central issue in American politics for centuries, sparking passionate debates and shaping the nation's economic destiny. From the very beginning, tariffs played a crucial role. The Tariff Act of 1789 was one of the first major laws passed by Congress, designed both to raise much-needed revenue for the young government and to protect fledgling American industries from foreign competition. Throughout the 19th century, tariffs became a flashpoint for fierce political battles. The industrial North, eager to shield its factories, often clashed with the agricultural South, which relied on imported goods and feared higher prices. This tension reached a boiling point during the nullification crisis of 1832, when South Carolina, feeling unfairly burdened by high tariffs, threatened to secede from the Union. This dramatic standoff foreshadowed the even deeper divisions that would later erupt in the Civil War. In the 20th century, tariffs continued to shape American fortunes. The infamous Smoot-Hawley Tariff of 1930, intended to protect American jobs during the Great Depression, instead triggered a wave of global retaliation, worsening the economic crisis and leading to widespread factory closures. After World War II, the United States took a different path, leading the world into a new era of free trade. Policymakers believed that lowering trade barriers would not only boost economic growth but also promote global stability and peace. Institutions like the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, and later the World Trade Organization, were created to manage this new system, helping to resolve disputes and encourage cooperation among nations for decades. For more than 70 years, free trade was the cornerstone of U.S. economic policy. But in recent years, new challenges and shifting global dynamics have led many to question whether this tradition still serves America's interests. The Supreme Court's decision is not just a legal milestone, it's the latest chapter in a debate that has shaped and continues to shape the American story. In many ways, America's struggle over tariffs is as old as the Republic itself, reflecting the nation's ongoing search for balance between protection and progress. Donald Trump's rise to the presidency marked a radical shift away from the decades-old post-war free trade consensus that had shaped U.S. economic policy. For years, leaders from both parties had championed open markets and global trade agreements, believing they would benefit American workers and consumers alike. But Trump's America First doctrine argued that free trade had hollowed out U.S. manufacturing, shuttered factories, and allowed countries like China to take unfair advantage of American workers and businesses, leading to a loss of millions of jobs. In response, Trump imposed sweeping tariffs on steel, aluminum, and a wide range of Chinese goods, citing national security concerns, a move that critics quickly labeled a misuse of presidential authority and a threat to global trade norms. The proposed Patriot Tariff Act was his boldest step yet. It called for a 10% baseline tariff on nearly all imports, with even higher rates for certain countries deemed economic threats, aiming to fundamentally reshape America's trade relationships. Supporters hailed the plan as a way to rebuild American industry, create jobs, and restore national pride. But opponents warned it would lead to higher prices for everyday goods, supply chain disruptions, and spark global retaliation that could hurt American exporters. Most crucially, legal scholars argued the plan represented a massive overreach of executive power, since the Constitution clearly gives Congress, not the President, the authority to impose tariffs and regulate trade with foreign nations. This fundamental constitutional question set the stage for a dramatic legal showdown, with both sides preparing for a fierce battle over the limits of presidential power. The battle over who truly controls America's trade policy was about to reach the nation's highest court, drawing intense public attention and raising stakes for the future of U.S. economic policy. The Patriot Tariff Act faced immediate legal challenges from business groups and states reliant on trade. Their argument was simple. The Constitution gives Congress, not the President, the power to regulate commerce and impose tariffs. The administration countered that the President has broad authority over foreign policy and economic security. But challengers insisted the Act's sweeping scope far exceeded any previous delegation of power. Federal courts quickly issued injunctions, with appellate judges expressing grave doubts about the Act's constitutionality. The Supreme Court agreed to hear the case on an expedited basis, recognizing its national importance. The central question: can the President unilaterally impose sweeping tariffs, or must Congress explicitly grant that power? The answer would have profound implications for the separation of powers. The stage was set for a landmark decision. On August 29, 2025, the Supreme Court struck down the Patriot Tariff Act in a 6-3 decision. Chief Justice Roberts, writing for the majority, called the act an unconstitutional delegation of legislative power to the executive. The ruling invoked the non-delegation doctrine. Congress cannot hand off its core powers, especially the power to tax. The majority included justices from both sides of the ideological spectrum, signaling this was about constitutional structure, not partisan politics. Justice Kavanaugh's concurrence emphasized, this is not about trade policy, but about who holds the power to make it. The dissent argued that Congress has long delegated broad trade authority to the President, and flexibility is needed in a complex world. But the majority held firm, only Congress can impose such sweeping economic changes. The decision instantly reverberated across the nation and the globe. The balance of power had been reset. The Supreme Court's decision has immediate effects on your wallet. Without the tariffs, prices on imported goods, electronics, clothing, food, won't spike by 10% or more, sparing families from a new wave of inflation. Businesses relying on global supply chains like automakers and tech firms avoid massive cost increases and disruptions. For industries hoping for protection, steel, aluminum, some manufacturers, the ruling is a setback, leaving them exposed to global competition. Financial markets rallied, especially in sectors that would have been hit hardest by a trade war. But uncertainty lingers. The underlying trade tensions remain unresolved. The debate over how to support American industries and workers is far from over. The ruling brings stability for now, but the search for new trade strategies has just begun. What happens next will shape the economy for years to come. The political fallout was immediate and fierce, exposing deep partisan divides. Trump and his allies condemned the ruling as a betrayal of American workers and vowed to seek new laws granting the president tariff authority. Democrats celebrated the decision as a victory for the rule of law and constitutional checks and balances. The ruling injects a powerful new issue into the upcoming midterm elections, with both parties using it to rally their bases. Republicans will argue the courts are thwarting the will of the people. Democrats will claim they're defending the Constitution and consumers. Beyond partisanship, the decision forces Congress to take the lead on trade policy, demanding real debate and compromise. Any future shifts in trade will require legislative consensus, a tall order in today's polarized climate. The battle over America's economic future is now squarely in the hands of lawmakers. The Supreme Court's decision sent ripples worldwide. U.S. allies from Brussels to Tokyo breathed a sigh of relief, seeing the ruling as a step back from a global trade war. The European Commission welcomed renewed dialogue and cooperation through international channels like the WTO. In China, officials viewed the decision as evidence of U.S. unpredictability, but remain wary of ongoing American efforts to contain China's rise. Developing nations, spared from a devastating U.S. tariff, now have breathing room, but no U.S. policy can shift quickly. The ruling pulls the world back from the brink, but leaves big questions about America's future role in global trade. Will the U.S. re-engage with international institutions, or will protectionist pressures resurface in Congress? The world is watching, waiting to see which path America chooses. The Supreme Court's decision is a turning point for American democracy and the global economy. By blocking the Patriot Tariff Act, the court reaffirmed that only Congress can levy broad taxes on the American people. The debate over America's place in the world, open trade or protectionism, now moves to Congress and the campaign trail. The ruling is a reminder that constitutional checks and balances have real-world consequences for jobs, prices, and America's global standing. The future of U.S. trade policy will be shaped by public debate and political engagement. What do you think? Should Congress or the president control trade? How should America balance protecting jobs with global competition? Your voice matters. Join the conversation and help shape the nation's future.